Some of the greatest stories and mythologies of all time came from ancient Greek literature, so it's only natural that one of the greatest video game franchises of all time was a celebration of said stories. PlayStation's Greek extravaganza starts here with God of War. Directed by the guy behind Twisted Metal, David Jaffe, God of War released at the height of the PlayStation 2. We've had a lot of big hitters thus far, so it was time to see something epic that we couldn't have expected. But we had not to worry, as Sony Santa Monica had a card up their sleeve that would set all of Greece alight. Kratos. Once a ruthless general in the Spartan army, Kratos has since had to work for the Greek pantheon of gods, serve them for 10 years, doing their deeds, and his past will be forgiven. The ash-white Spartan's last task from the gods will test him in unthinkable ways. He must defeat the Greek god Ares, who is currently at war with the city of Athens. Now what's great about God of War is it doesn't give everything away about Kratos all at once. Our main character starts off shrouded in mystery. Only when we see flashbacks throughout the game do we learn about his troubled past that he wants to forget. Sometimes we can sympathise with Kratos as we learn he's on this suicidal quest in which he literally climbs out of hell itself, all for redemption. And other times we may even think we're playing the villain, as he has no remorse for anyone who gets in his way. Kratos is a superb character for an action game such as this. He's a tortured soul, drawing inspiration from the classical Greek tragedies of ancient theatre. God of War is split into a few sections like Athens, the Desert of Lost Souls, and the Underworld itself. However, it's all connected with next to no loading times at all, and that's a fantastic achievement for a game this huge and expansive on the PlayStation 2. Now, one of my favourite sections is Pandora's Temple. Whoever designed this part of the game are geniuses. It's designed almost like a puzzle box, having you twist the room like a huge dial, looking for the heads of the temple architect's family to open doors within it, and also is filled with tons of well-made traps and others that lend inspiration to Indiana Jones. Not to mention, this temple is chained to the back of a titan, and when you're on the parts outside you can even see the big guy below. It's quite the spectacle, and Pandora's Temple is hands down one of the best made cursed temples in a video game I've ever seen. Combat in God of War is best described with one word, and that's flashy. Now, I'm not saying it's not deep, and I'm not saying I don't like it. I love God of War's combat system. I love the way your blades twirl around. They have the same satisfaction as watching sparklers slice through a night sky. And God of War was one of the earliest games to have a weapon upgrading system that not only powered them up, but also unlocked you new abilities and moves, like in Devil May Cry. When you've fully upgraded your Blades of Chaos, and the second weapon you unlock, the Blade of Artemis, you have a grandiose amount of moves that all benefit in various ways. Anyone who tells you that God of War's combat boils down to square, square, triangle hasn't chose to try out all the game's moves, as they all add to the flashiness of the combat. And on higher difficulty levels you really need to try out these other moves in order to simply survive against the tougher enemies. Other moves in Kratos' arsenal is an incredibly satisfying dodge roll mapped to the right stick, which works wonders with the fixed camera angle and mapped to L1 is an instantaneous block button that has no slowdown. Kratos also does a lot of climbing and platforming in God of War, probably to appeal to those that enjoy Prince of Persia or Tomb Raider, but the platforming here is nowhere near as deep as those games. What's also fairly tacked on are some puzzle segments that are only here to break up the monotony of combat, but in my opinion are far from well executed, some of which require pristine reflexes, and I think the creators got a little carried away with the title in that not all of us are gods, some of us are still human and can just about barely do these puzzles. The enemy variety here is commendable. They have included almost everything you want to see from a Greek mythological game. You battle axe-wielding minotaurs, swift and agile satyrs, large lumbering cyclopses, centaurs, Cerberus, wailing sirens, and even more. However, the execution of taking them down often ends up being the same, and to execute them you have to go through tiresome QuickTime events that have you twisting the analog sticks, and I don't think they're poorly executed, it just happens so much that they do eventually become banal and tiresome. Easily the most impressive part of God of War is the world that Santa Monica has crafted here. Everything is built with spectacle in mind, from first arriving at Athens and seeing Ares in the background at war, to walking across the bridge towards Pandora's temple and the fixed cinematic camera zooms out as if you're in a cutscene. All the scenery of God of War is epic, and the world really feels like a living, breathing Greek world in which the gods are real and a giant titan crawls through the desert for eternity. God of War also comes complete with a fantastic and brutal orchestrated soundtrack that offers some really memorable sounding themes, and all the characters have great dialogue and voice acting, especially from Kratos and Ares.
You are still just a mortal. Every bit as weak as the day you begged me to save your life.
I am not the same man you found that day. The monster you've created has returned to kill you.
Finally, you've conquered Pandora's temple, clambered your way out of Hades, and gained the power to kill gods. All that's left is Ares. This battle has its ups and downs, but it stays flashy. It stays epic. And it has an awesome segment where you have to battle clones of yourself, protecting your family. Kratos defeats the evil within him. He is forgiven. However, the gods do not see it that way. After you've defeated Ares, Athena makes you the new god of war. And throughout the rest of time, when man fell into war, they would look up to Kratos, the new god of war. After you beat the game, you'll unlock a challenge mode to test your skills, and a wealth of bonus features such as interviews, behind the scenes videos which I really enjoyed, and even a cool new area called the Character Graveyard, in which you can walk around and look at character models that didn't make it into the game. A very awesome extra indeed. God of War was a glorious creation. It featured a majestic narrative, a large array of Greek beasts to tear in half, a vast selection of flashy maneuvers, and a gigantic world comprised of stunning set pieces that would come up and appear almost seamlessly. God of War was a sparkling action game, a technical marvel, and while it certainly had a few drawbacks, it birthed a healthy new franchise for the PlayStation. You truly became a god in this game, fighting through the rich world of Greece and sitting on your Olympian throne at the end, accomplishing a feat no mortal ever had before. God of War gets a final score from me of an A for awesome.